Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Time for us.
So when did you actually launch the first version of the product, or at least where you were signing up users that weren't your friends and family?
Yeah, so let me think. So November 2009, we started building it. Yeah, my wife came up with the name over Thanksgiving. We sort of started inviting a few people in January and February, and we never really did a big launch. It still is invite only, but it was invite only back then.
Yeah.
I emailed 100 of my friends, and it just
4 of them signed up.
We had terrible numbers, right?
Yeah. When you've said this before, but would love to just hear about it. Like, you said you were stealth, but you didn't mean to be stealth.
Yeah, totally. A lot of people weren't just grasping it, and I think there's a lot of really good writing in startups about being really diligent about data and iterating really quickly on things if early data doesn't work out. And I think that's really good advice, actually, but we didn't have the engineering resources to do that. And I really liked the product, and Evan liked it, and Paul liked it, and so we just thought, well, we'll just continue sort of working on it. So yeah, it never really popped in California actually at all for the first year and a half.
And so talk about how did you, what was the first point where you actually started to get even a little bit of traction? Was it months later, and what kind of drove that?
Yeah, it was a few months in. I mean, it's funny, we just hired a couple guys that are working on our data, so they're pulling through our old log data.
Yeah.
And one of them pulled through the early data. They're like, "Wow, that was bad." like 4 months in,
You're fired.
We're at 200 users or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the first people that started using it, there were 2 sort of groups. One was people who I grew up with actually in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks really enjoyed it, and then I went on a whim to this conference in Utah where there were a lot of people that were out of the creative industry, so interior design, and a lot of those people used it as well.
Which is funny because as you now look at it, like the key demographic is like women from the, and you correct me if I'm wrong, please. It's like women from the Midwest and Mormons. Like those are the 2 demographics, like Iowa and Utah. So.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I mean, I've talked to a lot of really smart people in Silicon Valley about this idea of like early adopters, right? And I think the whole idea of early adoption has changed a ton. I mean, a few years ago, sure, like if you're into technology, you bought like a smartphone that other people didn't buy, or you paid more because you like technology for faster internet. But now, I mean, a lot of people at least have really nice phones. They have Facebook in the app stores on Android or the Apple phone, which basically are the biggest distribution channels in the world. So I think that products will find their markets a lot more smoothly, and this idea that it's gated through Silicon Valley, I just don't think that's as relevant anymore, because the average amount of exposure and access people have to technology and to the primary distribution channels is just really, really different. So I think you'll see lots and lots of products that seemingly come from other places, but to me that makes total sense. Facebook has 800 million users now, meaning 800 million people have been trained to create a user account, to contribute content online, right? They understand that idea, and that's a really big deal. I mean, I think that's a bigger change that actually hasn't quite sort of soaked in, I think.